everyone. Today, I'm here to share with you a message about collective healing. And I want to share with you how I got inspired to do this in the first place. I realized that the last Facebook Live I did about common humanity, in which I go into the 7 basic human needs. And if you haven't checked that out, I'd highly encourage you. Only got a few days until it gets deleted permanently from Facebook. But basically, I talk about how common humanity is a conversation that we're missing right now. And for some reason, it got really, really popular, this Facebook Live. And so what I'm understanding is what you guys are telling me, that you want to hear more about this, that this is a message that's not being talked about enough. And so I am inspired by collective healing today when it comes to common humanity that I think is so important to recognize. The common humanity is amazing. We can think about what the world owes to us, but when we start thinking about what do we owe to the world, if you want to be treated like a decent human being, if you want to be treated with fairness and respect, think about the golden rule. Treat others as you would like to be treated. And this is where the message of common humanity is so important. Create the world that you want to live in. Look, everyone can blame this aspect or that issue for the things that are going on right now and why everything's collapsing, for example. But I'm here as a life coach, as a solution-focused person. And I'm here to share this message that we don't have to sit here talk about problems all day. Maybe that's something we haven't considered yet, because clearly we've been talking about problems for far too long. We have not been solution-focused enough. So I want to inspire you today, hopefully, to start thinking about healing in a collective way and a connective way too. If you have been on this transformation journey yourself, if you've been recognizing your limiting beliefs, maybe you've been unlearning the patterns from your childhood. Perhaps you're just coming out of an abusive relationship and trying to find your own self-esteem and balance again. Maybe you're just going through a transitional period, maybe like from puberty to adulthood, or from adulthood to managing all these priorities. Whatever it is, whatever stage in life you're in, whatever struggle that you might be going through, I want to come here and share a message about collective healing and how everything that you've been doing in your life, all the struggle that you've gone through, all the hard work you've been putting into your self-healing and self-transformation is something that actually can be shared by everybody else. And this is the first message that I want to share with you, is that healing can actually be contagious. Crazy idea, right? This is something we don't think about, because I feel like in some ways, in some aspects, we've become too individualistic. And there are some positives about the collectivist thinking, but I'm not trying to make an argument for either or. What I'm helping to recognize and point out is that when you're completely in one, you're going to have some gaps. And then if you're completely in the other, you're going to be missing the important perspective from the other one. And so when it comes to being a little bit more individualistic, you could say in Western societies, we've become a little bit more, it's also all about self-reliance. As soon as your kid turns 18, let them be independent, go out in their world and do their own thing. And in some other countries, for example, Eastern traditions, generational wealth might be something that is prioritized a lot more, and there is a lot more of emphasis on the collectivist, on your family name, your community, how you identify yourself not as an individual but as a member of a larger thing. And so this is the message that I want to share today. When it comes to our common humanity, and when it comes to collective healing, when we start seeing healing as contagious, and trust me, it is, when we start making changes in ourselves, when we start being the bigger man, when we start doing the hard thing, maybe that means you have to put your emotions aside, put your ego aside, put your pride aside, and actually meet with the other person with compassion and understand that you're not going to agree on everything, but it doesn't mean that you can't get along. And this is a strength that has not been recognized at the moment. It is an absolute strength if you're able to get along with someone that you disagree with without having an emotional reaction. As humans, we haven't really perfected this. But that's okay. We have growth to do. I think a lot of the times, these bigger issues that we might be seeing, for example, on a political landscape, might be solved if we started focusing on our 7 basic human needs and how when we behave in certain ways, we might actually be suppressing somebody else to fulfill one of their basic human needs. And when we can recognize that, I feel like a lot of the world's problems are going to start getting solved on their own. But that's just me. So yeah, the first message being healing is contagious. When you work on yourself, understand that it's going to have a ripple effect on your family, your community, when they see you taking the bigger step, taking the hard decision, and doing the self-care, setting those boundaries, having that self-respect for yourself and looking after yourself, taking action to do so. It's going to start inspiring other people in your life. It's almost like they need permission. They need someone else to take the first step first. And then they're like, oh, this is a new norm now. I can just follow this. And it's really hard to be the first person to do the new thing. And this is where true leadership comes in. And every single person can be a leader in their own lives. I'm not talking about leader in the community. I'm not talking about leading and following. This is not what I'm talking about. I'm saying every single one of us can be a leader in our own lives, and not not just blindly follow our past programming, but actually challenge some of our old limiting beliefs and be a leader and start acting in a new way that is more in line with your new beliefs, which are more about healing and what healing means for you. And this is another conversation I would love to have with you guys. What does healing mean for you? I am so curious to know. In my own life, I feel like healing, it all depends on what experiences you've been through. And in my own personal life, recently, I've been talking about some of the trauma I went through when it came to moving from Pakistan to Australia at the age of 13. And during this transitional time, it was such an identity shock and a culture shock for me, the assimilation and everything like that. And that identity shift, it made me feel ungrounded, right? And I was physically uprooted from my native environment, and assimilating into Australia was a challenging thing for me. And so healing for me meant that I'm not going to reject the Australian identity, I'm not going to reject the Pakistani identity. I'm going to assimilate and start figuring out what being a Pakistani Australian is. And for years I only identified with being Pakistani, I only identified with being Australian. And what I didn't realize what I was doing during that time is I was rejecting a part of myself. And so healing for me has been bringing those together into an identity that feels aligned for me. So the second point that I want to raise in terms of collective healing is shared struggle equals shared strength. Now, this is something I'm really passionate about, and what's inspiring me a lot is I actually made a TikTok recently that went completely viral where I was addressing some Australian political issues, and I don't generally comment on Australian politics. Politics is something I've stayed away from for a very long time. I've avoided talking about it in public purely because I feel like politics and religion can be quite divisive at times, and I want to focus more on what is similar between us and how we're similar rather than how we're different. But now I'm learning and recognizing that actually politics doesn't have to be divisive. It can actually bring people together as well. So this has been a journey for me too. And what I've recognized is this shared struggle that Australians are going through right now. There's a lot of social unrest. There's marches going on, people are yelling, and there's a lot of anger, people don't feel heard, and then there's counterprotests, and people are standing up for issues and values that they believe in. But there's also a part of these people that don't feel like they can without resorting to extreme measures. And I think the reason that is happening is because we haven't actually allowed their voices to be heard. So now they have to resort to yelling, and because they're so frustrated, they're in their emotional mind, not in the rational mind. So I really want to open this discussion on my page now if you would like to engage in that, because I would love to know your opinions about it too. This isn't about a political thing. I'm interested in bringing people together as humans. I want to be able to treat you as a human and you treat me as a human. We're not talking about race. We're not talking about language. When you think about music and when you think about art, and somehow a song can be so popular in so many different countries and they don't even speak that same language. You know that feeling of connection you feel? That is the common humanity that I'm talking about, which I want to bring together and inspire in people right now. There's too much division going on right now. So when we want to treat each other with that common humanity, understand that we do have an effect on everybody else. Just because you have a different history and different background, you don't get to treat someone badly, even if you disagree with their ideas. So the shared struggle that I've seen that Australians are currently dealing with when it comes to their voices not being heard, I believe that the step forward from that is understanding that we're actually in the process of building shared strength. And this is what I want to talk about, bringing people together. This is not about creating division. We're building strength together. And there was this one thing that got mentioned to me in one of the comments. They said, harden up. And I thought that was really funny because they were replying to a video where I was talking about the difference between attacking ideas and attacking people, and how you can attack ideas without actually attacking people, and we shouldn't equate the two. And they basically commented harden up. And it is a traditional value. And often it's been sort of overused to the point where we've been ignoring some of the sensitivities that we do need to acknowledge. But at the same time, I feel it is important that at some point you do have to have that resilience and build that strength. And I'm not saying just toughen up and just harden up. I'm saying understand that when you do get triggered about something, you have an emotional reaction about something, you're going through a tough time, and you're going through a struggle. Understand the purpose of that. The purpose of that is to build strength. And this is what I mean by harden up. In one way, I don't agree with that message, like just harden up. But in another way, I can understand the value of it. That at some point we do need to not get so triggered over everything and have that emotional mastery, that we can still stay balanced and grounded while also being exposed to someone with a differing opinion than you. That is a strength. That is a strength of character. There's a strength of emotional mastery. And emotional mastery isn't about controlling emotions either. If you're interested in emotional mastery, I actually have a video on that. That Facebook Live should still be up. If it's not, it's definitely on my YouTube page. The third thing that I want to talk about is the resilience legacy. Now, I'm really passionate about this because, yes, we talked about how healing can be contagious, right? It has a ripple effect on your community and your environment. And we can have collective healing when we go through a shared struggle and then build that strength. Now, resilience legacy is about leaving a mark and a message for the rest of the world. And this is where I will mention politics again. Even though I rarely talk about it, let's address this. When Australia and Australians are dealing with an issue that is quite divisive right now, I want to recognize that we actually have the opportunity to set the stage for a resilient point of view in which we're not denying the struggle that's happening, and we're not censoring, we're not shutting down. We're actually in the process of becoming resilient, and everyone, the whole world, now that internet, it's global news, we hear everything, that the whole world gets the message that we have the opportunity to send them the message that we're in the process of building resilience. And this is where collective healing is so important, because we're making a resilient generation overall. And that's not easy to do, but you can't make an omelet without cracking a few eggs, as they say. So the struggle that we're going through right now, I just wanted to come on here and share with you that it's not all negative, and we don't have to be divided, and we can actually focus on a shared goal, which is the collective healing. And I put little love hearts there to share the message. It's about love and connection. The more that we can recognize our common humanity, which is what I talked about in the previous Facebook Live that is going so viral, the common humanity, I think we've been missing. We've missed it receiving from other people, and we've missed actually extending that compassion to people. Too easily, we see their emotions, we see their ideas, maybe we disagree with them, and then we go straight to judgment. We don't give them the common humanity. And what we do is we start to prove our point, and then we become defensive, and it becomes ego versus ego, pride versus pride. And what we're not recognizing in that moment, what we're blind to, is the collective healing opportunity we have during this time. This is something you can look up on your own. There's a term called dialectic in philosophy where two people actually learn, and this is a process of truth-seeking and learning, the study of truth, epistemology. They learn by having differing opinions, not too unlike a debate. But it's not to, the purpose is different, because the purpose is not to argue and debate. It's more about testing ideas against each other so that you come to a collective learning. And it's not about you're both going to come to the same conclusion, but by sharing the disagreeing opinions, you're actually expanding the point of view and understanding the bigger picture. And during those moments of conflict, during those moments of disagreement, when we try and keep in mind that our focus is on collective healing, we can start to put our focus into understanding rather than judgment. And that understanding is going to come from actually sharing ideas, not emotionally yelling at each other, not personally attacking each other, actually listening and then rationally speaking. Now, I do want to recognize that people do have a lot of emotions pent up because they've been misunderstood and unheard for a very long time. Those emotions are valid, but the other person doesn't need to be at the receiving end of that. These are your emotions for you to regulate, so that when you do show up in the world and you want to share ideas, you want to increase understanding, you can present it in a way that is understood, and you're not having an emotional attack on someone just because you need an emotional release, because you haven't processed these emotions. So this is where personal healing does have an effect on collective healing. So I really hope that today's Facebook Live was helpful for you, and maybe even inspiring to see disagreements and conflict in a different way, and not just following the mainstream narrative of division. Look how we're different. I'm trying to share with you, look how we're similar. Let's actually bring people together. We can heal ourselves and then heal people around us just by healing ourselves. We can have shared struggles, but it's all for the purpose of building shared strength, and we can leave a legacy for our future generations and for everybody else in the world watching to see what Australia is going through right now and how it's actually bringing us together. So with that, I will end this Facebook Live. Let me know in the comments below what other topics you want me to talk about. I am really passionate currently about this topic because I've decided now I will address some political issues, but mainly my page is going to be about life coaching, personal development, NLP tools, and just self-love at the end of the day. Can we just self-love? All right, see you in the next one. Have a beautiful day, everyone. Bye.